Open your books up to page 251, please. Language of the Heart book. If you don't have one, there's one right there for you. The article was written by Bill Wilson in 1961. God as We Understand Him, The Dilemma of No Faith. Before we get any further, let's remember that this book, Language of the Heart, is a collection of all of the writings of Bill Wilson for the Grapevine from 1944 through 1969. And it contains material that appears nowhere else in any publications. The only other place you could find this would be if you were to get back issues of the Grapevine. Now, this business of God as we understand Him, before we begin to read, remember where that comes from. We read in Bill's story that he was an agnostic. He was having great difficulty with this idea of God. His friend Ebby said to him, Bill, it's only necessary that you adopt your own conception of God, whatever that might be. And that changed everything around for Bill, because he wasn't being told or asked to accept somebody else's definition or conception of God. He could choose his own, and this is what turned the corner for him. In addition, his friend Ebby said to him, it's only necessary, Bill, that you be willing to believe that there just might be a power out there greater than yourself. And it was that willingness which he said will be all you need to get started. Now, as we go through the steps, we see this phrase, God of our understanding, God as we understand God, and so on. And so Bill wrote this article to give us some idea of what that means. I think it's important for us to understand that a great man once said that if we hear something, we are interested. If we see it, we believe it. If we experience it, we understand it. And so what we're really talking about here, the God of my understanding, is the God I have experienced. At first it may be some kind of a very hazy conception. But as we go along and we're working the steps and we continue to take leaps of faith, we will begin to experience God working in our lives. For most of us, the God of our understanding is the God we've experienced. We don't pretend to know God in the sense of being able to describe Him, except in general terms as love, for example, or all power, all knowing. But our understanding of God really means the experiences that we've had with Him. If you ask me to describe the God of my understanding, I'm going to tell you about what's happened to me, how God has worked in my life, because that's the God I understand. And so we're talking about a very integral and very, very important part of our program of recovery, this question of God as I understand Him. Let's see what the book says now, page 251. The phrase God as we understand Him is perhaps the most important expression to be found in our whole AA vocabulary. Within the compass of these 5 significant words, there can be included every kind and degree of faith, together with the positive assurance that each of us may choose his own. Scarcely less valuable to us are those supplemental expressions, a higher power, and a power greater than ourselves. For all who deny or seriously doubt a deity, these frame an open door over whose threshold the unbeliever can take his first easy step into a reality hitherto unknown to him, the realm of faith. So therefore we can see in that first paragraph that the title to this article is rounded out. God as we understand Him, the dilemma of no faith. Faith is obviously something which comes to most of us as a result of learning we can trust God. That is, as we experience God working in our lives, we come to trust Him. We come to believe Him and to believe in Him. Somebody tells us, if you do this, you'll get this result. Take this to God and this is what will happen. We decide to try it. We do it. And suddenly, there it is. It works. And we say, wow, holy cow, that worked. And that's where it all begins. And each time we take that leap of faith and it works, our faith grows. In AA, such breakthroughs are everyday events. They are all the more remarkable when we reflect that a working faith had once seemed an impossibility of the first magnitude to perhaps half our present membership of 300,000. To all these dollars has come the great discovery that as soon as they could cast their main dependence upon a higher power, even upon their own AA groups, I wish he hadn't said that, they had turned that blind corner which had always kept the open highway from their view. From this time on, assuming they tried hard to practice the rest of the AA program with a relaxed and open mind, an ever-deepening and broadening faith, a veritable gift had invariably put in it sometimes unexpected and often appearance. We much regret that these facts of AA life are not understood by the legion of alcoholics in the world around us. Any number of them are bedeviled by the dire conviction that if ever they go near AA, they will be pressured to conform to some particular brand of faith or theology. They just don't realize that faith is never a necessity for AA membership, that sobriety can be achieved with an easily acceptable minimum of it, and that our concepts of higher power and God as we understand Him afford everyone a nearly unlimited choice of spiritual belief and action. How to transmit this good news is one of our most challenging problems in communication, for which there may be no fast or sweeping answer. Perhaps our public information services could begin to emphasize this all-important aspect of AA more heavily. And within our own ranks, we might well develop a more sympathetic awareness of the acute plight of those really isolated and desperate sufferers. In their aid, we can settle for no less than the best possible attitude and the most ingenious action that we can muster. We can also take a fresh look at the problem of no faith as it exists right on our own doorstep. Though 300,000 did recover in the last 25 years, maybe 500,000 more have walked into our midst and out again. No doubt some were too sick to make even a start. Others couldn't or wouldn't admit their alcoholism. Still others couldn't face up to their underlying personality defects. Numbers depart for still other reasons. Yet, we can't well content ourselves with the view that all these recovery failures were entirely the fault of the newcomers themselves. Perhaps a great many didn't receive the kind and amount of sponsorship they so sorely needed. We didn't communicate when we might have done so. So we AAs failed them. Perhaps more often than we think, we still make no contact at depth with those suffering the dilemma of no faith. We'll stop right there. And this is the place in our meeting where we like to share with each other. I would think that most of us here have, to some degree or another, come to believe in and to trust a higher power. We've experienced the coming of faith, a faith that is our own experience. Maybe some of us have had a lot of difficulty with that, and it hasn't really seemed to work yet. Maybe we're able to share with each other and help along those lines. I'd like you to keep in mind this, that there are a few people in AA who have formed what they call free thinkers groups, and most of them profess to be at least seriously agnostic, but most usually atheist. Atheism is a very tough position to hold, I would think, in light of the face of all the evidence around us that there's something going on. But nevertheless, there's something happening with them too, and it may be well for us to keep it in mind. You remember that in chapter 4, the big book tells us that we're going to find God deep down within ourselves. That's where His Spirit will be found, and it was so with us, it says. And these folks are talking about having found their better self. And when I have a chance to talk with them, I try to compare that with what we find, because as our big book says, that we get to the 10th step, we've become God conscious. We found we have a sense of God's Spirit flowing into us. We find God deep down inside ourselves, just as the big book says. Maybe their better self and our higher power is a recognition of exactly the same thing. And I'm not sure, but it might be something to contemplate. But almost all of us, very few exceptions, if we stick around and if we work the steps and we start taking leaps of faith one after another, we'll come to a place where we develop a high degree of faith and we have a well-developed concept of the God of our understanding, the God of our experience. That's the way it seems to me. Who would like to start the sharing now?
Thanks, Kenny. Coming up all this morning, I woke up and I've been reading the chapter a day, and I decided I was going to read the chapter for the agnostic this morning. The reason I came tonight is because I thought that this subject was particularly pertinent to that chapter. Bill talks a lot about organized religion. Who are we to doubt the existence of God when so many other people have found it working in their lives? He talks about finding God within yourself. I've been having trouble lately because I quit my job a few weeks ago, and I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail. It doesn't really matter, but I find myself in a particularly difficult place with fear and financial insecurity, two things which have really held me back, I think, during all the time that I've been in AA so far. And what I found in that chapter this morning, and through the reading so far, is that I'm really going to have to come to this understanding of God by myself. I have a sponsor who I know has the God thing. I don't necessarily want what he has, but I certainly want to be able to find a God which I can come to rely on absolutely. And I think during the next couple of weeks, given the position I'm in, I'm going to have a good opportunity to get that kind of experience, which is going to strengthen my faith. And I really did a lot of prayer and meditation this morning. And my meditation was simple. It was, God, I am seeking you. You were there, but now you are here. And I kept saying that over and over and over to myself. And I found that I've been able to use it a couple of times during the day. I've also started to do some things which people have told me to do. I had these two significant opportunities this week to help other people. I didn't want to do that, but I did it because I knew that that's God's will for me. And I need to bring my actions into line with what I know to be true inside myself in terms of what God's will for me is. So I think this is just a really good opportunity to read this.
I'll refer you to let's take a look at page 179 in Language of the Heart, please. Because Bill addresses this very same subject. And I think this is good material for us to study tonight. In the middle of the page, the second paragraph, though my sobriety had come easy, this is page 179. Though my sobriety had come easy, the growing up business hadn't. Both emotional and spiritual growth had always been mighty difficult for me. My quest to understand myself and better to know God and His design for me became a matter of great urgency. The clergy, I reflected, must represent the accumulated wisdom of the ages in matters moral and theological, so I began to make friends with them, this time to listen, not to argue. I can happily report that one of these clergymen has turned out to be the greatest friend, teacher, and advisor I ever expect to have. Through the years I have found in Father Ed Dowling much of the grace and understanding by which I can grow, if only a little at a time. By the way, from 1940 through 1960, Bill considered Father Ed to be his sponsor. And there's a book out called The Soul of Sponsorship, which is a collection of letters and memoranda back and forth between Bill Wilson and Father Ed. And a lot of it is during the time that Bill was writing the 12 and 12. Gives us great insight into the serious problems that Bill was having at the time. He was suicidal. He was deeply depressed. He was experimenting with LSD. He was flirting with the idea of becoming a Catholic. And we can see that much of the 12 and 12 was actually written and edited by Father Ed, not by Bill. So Father Ed, but Bill always gave Ed credit for having pulled him out of this depression and teaching him that it was his dependence on the fellowship and his place within the fellowship that was causing all of his problems. And later Bill wrote about this and said that every disturbance he had, great and small, at the root of it was some unhealthy dependency he allowed to develop. And it was his dependency on his position in the fellowship that had caused all of his difficulties. So Father Ed was of enormous importance. Now, Ed Dowling was not an alcoholic. He was a Catholic priest based in St. Louis. But he got a lot of the AA in St. Louis started. He was instrumental in doing that. That's why we have so much Catholicism in the 12 and 12. Things like 7 deadly sins and the St. Francis prayer and some of the other stuff that's in there. Some idea that of original sin and so much that we don't find in the big book. And Father Ed was just doing what came naturally for him. He died in 1960. Bill says he's the finest living example of spirituality I happen to know. He's often set my feet back on the path when otherwise I might have gone off on an indefinite dry bender. His characteristic that he has never in all these years asked me to join his church. Well, that was true. Bill had the idea to become a Catholic. Ed wasn't trying to get him to it, but the Archbishop of New York turned Bill down finally. Said that you just aren't willing to go as far as you have to go to become a Catholic, so he had to give up the idea. Therefore, it is with the deepest feeling that I here cast up AA's debt to the clergy. Without their works for us, AA could never have been born. Nearly every principle that we use came from them. Well, not from the clergy exactly. It came from ancient history, because these steps are spiritual principles that go back as far as written record, probably even before when everything was word of mouth. Their example, their faith, and their beliefs in some part we have appropriated and made our own. Almost literally, we AAs owe them our lives, our fortunes, and such salvation as each of us has found. Surely this is an infinite debt. I think Bill overstates the case there a little bit, but then maybe not. So, that's enough for a digression, but one of the things we do in this little group is it's a free-swinging type of discussion. And everybody is free to share when the Spirit moves them. And we don't put any time limits on anything, and you can double dip all you want. It doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is to make some sense of some of this stuff as we go along. Who's next now? Terry.
My name is Terry, and I'm an alcoholic. And I have to share something that's kind of disturbing me. And I know it's a little self-centered, but it seems like nobody's talking about it, and it's really bothering me. But it comes something like what's in here, and I'm just going to read this real quick. Perhaps a great many didn't receive the kind of amount of sponsorship that they solemnly needed. I had a really great sponsor, and now I don't have him anymore, and he's gone. And I really, really miss him. And you know, just I needed to share that. I can only share what I know, but I'm not going to share that because maybe I don't know the truth. And if I don't know the truth, then maybe I shouldn't share it at all. But this man has helped so many people, and he has brought me to a greater knowledge in my faith. Now, I've been brought up as a Christian, in Christian community. I went to a Bible college and got my degree that way. I went to a Christian program the last time I got saved because my sponsor, who wasn't my sponsor at the time, told me that's where he knew that God would want me to go. And he was right. And, sometimes my faith is wavers because right now, as this gentleman, I'm unemployed. And God is taking care of me. I don't know why I'm not kicked out of the halfway house because I can't pay my rent. But I still have hope in me, and my hope is not stable. It's even stronger because I know that I got put out tonight, that tonight I wouldn't win because my God has separated me, as you talk about so much, from a drug or a drink. He's in the middle because I asked him in the morning, I meditate, and I thank him at night, and I asked him to take that desire away, and he has. And the rest of my life is so much falling. It's like I know that I'm doing the right things. I'm doing exactly what you guys tell me. Go to meetings, share, pray in the morning, meditate. I even got I take meetings into a place. I've got a sponsee. I do everything. I call my sponsor. Well, I did. I used to see him every day. But I know I'm doing everything, and my whole life is falling apart. But this one thing I know, God, my God, has separated me from drugs. And my sponsor told me, he said, if that's all AA has given you, then that's exactly what you should have. Because the only responsibility to come to AA is not to get a girlfriend or a car or a job. It's to help you stop drinking. And to build me in my faith, which he has done. But, yesterday I came in here and I was just hurt and I still am. And I just need to share that to get it out so somebody just knows. And I just thank God for people like you that work the program. I see people that the promises have come true. Some people I don't see it, but that's all right because I know that every day I wake up and I didn't take a drink, that there is a God who's living inside.
Thank you, Terry. Who's next now? Yes.
Mark,
Hey, Mark.
I know me personally, the thing that I want out of AA and working the steps is to have a very spiritual life. I know that in the past, when I've done a lot of praying and I've sought God, and usually when things happen in my life that I considered them to be something going wrong at the time, I I would continue to pray to God and ask Him for the answer on what is the true meaning of this, why has this happened in my life, and He has always answered my prayers. The thing is, if I got what I wanted in my life, I would be totally miserable. In my mind, if I got everything that I wanted, I would truly be a miserable person. The things that I've gotten are the things exactly what I needed. And they've all been blessings. A lot of it has been very painful, and I don't like pain. That's one of the reasons I used alcohol and drugs, is to not feel pain, emotional pain, physical pain. But I've always grown spiritually through the pain. And I have always found that I got exactly what I needed when I needed it. And you know, today lately I've been trying to get out of myself and want it for myself. I've been praying to do God's bidding. You know, may I help to do His bidding. And He continues to put people in my life that need help. And at the same time, it gets me out of myself, and it keeps me occupied, and it keeps me from being lonely, and it also teaches me the things that I need to learn at that time. But, you know, I'm amazed at the wonderful things that God does with my life. It's true. It never ceases to amaze me. He has always taken care of me, and it's been a beautiful life. Thanks for the share.
Thank you.
I'm Raymond, Dr. Marciano. Good to be here tonight. It's been 2 years since I've looked at this script, God that it's a good topic today. Because, like you were talking about experiences, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Because over the years, I don't speak, and I've had that experience. I only speak from experience. I cannot make a comment on something I have experienced, and I know about it, you see. And I just come to go to faith, right? I took an idea how that, so I got there. And the reason how I got there and how I got there is because after marriage, and because of the study that I used to go to the bottom line, sitting on the wall, and I had no idea what it meant, you know, faith without work. Yes, I have no idea what it meant. There was another one that I worked in program and stuff, and I did a lot of stuff to pray, and a lot of stuff to prayer, and where I turned my life and my word over to God, and I understood Him, that I would come to a point where I would see what I wanted not to see, and I would hear what I wanted not to hear. And then it became a reality for me, it became a miracle. And when I did step 6, I did it the hard way. I mean, my sponsor came to what I had been through with God for a lot of time, and it was a tough God. So when I got to step 6, it was very simple for my sponsor to deliver me. He said, come to me and shut up. Shut the hell up. And I was like, man, I couldn't answer that. I wasn't shut up. So I did that for 9 months, and it's fine. And 9 minutes later, I was listening at it, stuff, and then he had a company deal here, working at the campus. And I failed to understand what's going on here. And, well, did you shut up and go to music? I said, yeah, I'm tired of it. So what you learn? And I told him what I learned. He said, well, now you've got the concept. And I said, no, what do you mean? And he said, it was shutting up and listening. Like what we talked about, listening and going out. That I began to pick up a lot of tools. And I just became spiritual awakening more. And this is such an awakening, you know, bit by bit, as I picked up each awakening, and strengthened, and faith in God, and made him an ally, made him a friend to me. And yeah, I admit, I'm human too, allowed for God to serve to me. I don't like it. But then again, when it comes to the third business, Occupied Commandments, Episcopal 49, where it talks about stepping, God's will and God's plan, whether you like it or not, that has helped me, overcome the fact that I would like to so. And also, another slogan saw at the bottom line, where it says, this who will pass. And of course they didn't understand that, but now I do. And I began to realize nothing's forever. Some then they think that it obvious, and others, but now without passing it. And you look back and go, wow, I made it through that. Wow, what was that last week? And you, man, I think that's yesterday. It wasn't last week, stuff like that, it helps me. And, I did God County Institution Committee for 3 years. I took meetings with God County Sheriff and County Facilities. And I do admit there's a time when I took meetings with two facilities and said to myself, well, man, ain't nobody coming up to me and asking me to sign this. So maybe I'm not really like it. But how can I go? In time, the faces were different. The inmates were different. But they came to me and said, well, God, there's something about you, man, it's God. And I was like, what is it? There's a love that comes out from within you, that's God. And I was like, I didn't know how to handle that. I was like, man, this God is pretty nice, man. God from the wrong side. He's the second one, not you. But this is cheaper. Like I said, this is basically the same message I began to start thinking about that, and then my faith began to deepen, and I began to realize that I accented what God wanted. Like when I was in the other side, that's when I was in prison, and I didn't have a splat, and just having I was basically bankrupt, and I thought, these guys had something, and man, I want that. However it is, I gotta go by and get it. So I feel for you guys, you guys who have having trouble with the faith concept, because that was there, Thanks.
Thanks. So, you know what the big book says about the time between the fifth step and the sixth and seventh step? 1 hour. It means it too. Thanks very much, my friend. Who's next? Yeah.
Jim Alcoholic. The faith thing is sometimes difficult for me, especially when, looking at the third step saying, God as we understand Him, because I don't understand Him. I don't really have a clue when it comes to stuff like that. And it's been my experience throughout my whole life that when hard things come and I continue to pray and I'm about to give up, I hang out one more day and the whole world opens up to me. I don't know how that works exactly. I was thinking about it a second ago, maybe 2 years ago I'd opened up a business and it was going very hard for me. I didn't have much money, the car was having problems, and I was having a bad day. Everything went wrong that day, and I had prayed, and I was periodically drinking at the time, and I said, God, just whatever you want to do, it's in your hands, and I just put it out there, and I've been thankful over the years that I did keep going to church. And I just gave my day to God, and I said, it just can't get much worse. You can have my day, and it's okay. Whatever happens, happens. And I went to the mailbox about 15 minutes later, and there was a check in there for $5,500 from something that I had won. And they gave me the cash alternative, and it was like as soon as I gave it up, and I'm thinking, I just started laughing to myself, I could use one of those checks right now. But I find for myself that if I go for a walk and I just look at the sky or the ocean, I get away from all the insanity and my student loans and the eviction notice and all these things that have come up, and just since I've been recently sober, and once I get away, then it's okay. I get a feeling of peacefulness about myself. But if I'm looking through the bills and I'm trying to there's not anything I can do about it right now. It does help me, and it takes a lot of work for me to actually get up off the couch and go for a walk. It does take a lot. I know it's set up. I feel better. It doesn't make any of those problems go away, but I can deal with them. And talking with somebody in the program that has significant more time than myself and has been there. But as far as God as I understand Him, I kind of just pray for the willingness, and I pray to get closer to God, because I want to be away from all that fear. That's the biggest thing for me, that I'd like to get out of sobriety. That the fear of people, the fear of economic insecurity, the fear of what the future will hold. And 10 years ago, I had 3.5 years of sobriety. I remember there was periods of serenity and things that I had in my life that were that people wanted of all ages. And I was 21 with 3.5 years of sobriety, and I stopped going to meetings, and I went out. I went to meetings a couple times a day for 3.5 years. I stopped for a couple weeks, and I went out. It took me 10 years to get back, so I can relate to the problems of, with the sponsorship and finding somebody. Because myself, I want to find the all-perfect sponsor and stuff, and I don't know what God's will is and things like that. But I'm just going to keep coming, keep listening. Thanks.
No, thanks. Who's next? You're next.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hey, Chris.
I'm an alcoholic and addict. And I don't know if it was yesterday morning or this morning. Because I read Safety Page every morning when I get up. The daily bread. And it was either yesterday or today. And it said that God said to Peter, Peter said, "Is that you out there on the water, Lord? Can I come out there too?" And he said, "Yes, it's me." And he took him out. And it was talking about the faith that we have in God. And I've only been out of jail 2 weeks. And when I was in jail, I asked God, what's just not working my way? Anything, I've been in and out of these stores for the past 20 years, many times. And it just wasn't working my way. And that's when I went to jail, and I come, I just told God, here's my life. I just want to do my way. I got to do it your way. And I know it's going to be the grace of God, and then my faith that I fully have all faith in God. I know my way is not going to work. So every day I get up and I put my God, it's your way. 2 weeks, I've been looking for a job. Yesterday I got a job. Now, I don't know how well that job's going to do with me, but I got a job. And I don't know how well I'm going to do my job because I'm not a pro marketer, but I guess as long as I just say, God, here I am, every day, So I'm walking fast and do the rest, because that's what you do. God sees that it's also funny that I live right across the field. 20 years ago, I lived right across the field and I couldn't get to AA. This place was here. I ended up going to prison twice because I didn't want to, since I wasn't a probation officer. All I got to do is wake up in the morning and leave out the door, and I can be right here. And I'm sure that's going to God that's happening, because I put my faith in Him, because I didn't do it before. It's turning that my will on in my life over to care of God, as I understand Him. And I just know He's got some kind of plan for me, because He's got one very good. All I got to do is keep having faith and keep doing what I need to do for me to keep Him in my heart. And I'm so glad that I get to come here and meet nowadays. I make 2 meetings a day usually, and I had never. Like I said, coming in, I make 2 meetings a day. And I'm glad to come. Figure that out. I can't figure that. I'm not drinking or drugging, and I really don't even care if I drink or drug. It doesn't, when I say I don't care, I mean, that's the kind of thing that I'm not in. I have so many things that I can do now. To have somebody say, "Oh, my girl, is Chrissy coming over? She's coming over to take us to the fort." These 2 little girls. It's just such a good feeling to know that you're able to help somebody else or do something for somebody else, and because it's a good feeling inside that somebody trusts their children with me. I have a 7-year-old that children doesn't ring with my mother because I didn't want to stop drinking or drugging. With that I have guilt. And I ask God to forgive me. And I know He has. But until I actually get to see my little boy again and hold him in my arms and ask him, then I'm not really going to forgive myself for it. I know that it was because I was drinking and drugs and that I wasn't there. But that's something that I guess I talk to God with, not every day, but I know this stuff planned, there. But, I know that I'm going to get there as soon as He lets me get there, in His time. And like what you were saying about, God, if I got everything that I wanted, it's not what I want, it's what I need to have and what God wants me to have, basically. Love you, anything. Thanks for letting me take it.
Thank you. If you turn to page 241 in Language of the Heart, this problem of no faith and no belief, Bill addresses this in a very beautiful way. The third paragraph is talking about somebody who may have an idea that there's a creator, but not any God, certainly no God personal to him. Well, he can strenuously try meditation, prayer, and guidance, just an experiment. He can address himself to whatever God he thinks there is. Or if he thinks there's none, he can admit, just for experimental purposes, he might be wrong. This is all important. As soon as he's able to take this attitude, it means that he stopped playing God himself. His mind is open. Like any good scientist in his laboratory, our friend can assume a theory and pray to a higher power that may exist and may be willing to help and guide him. Keeps on experimenting, in this case praying, for a long time. Again, he tries to behave like the scientist, an experimenter who is never supposed to give up, so long as there is a vestige of any chance of success. As he goes along with his process of prayer, he begins to add up the results. If he persists, he will almost surely find more serenity, more tolerance, less fear, and less anger. He will acquire quiet courage, the kind that doesn't strain him. You can look at so-called failure and success for what they really are. Problems and calamity will begin to mean instruction rather than destruction. He will feel freer and saner. The idea that he may have been hypnotized himself by auto-suggestion will become laughable. His sense of purpose and of direction will increase. His tensions and anxieties will commence to fade. His physical health is likely to improve. Wonderful and unaccountable things will start to happen. Twisted relations in his family and on the outside will unaccountably improve. And notice that there's something here which goes something like this. Probably some of you have seen that cartoon. There's a stork, a great big bird with a big bill, and there's this little frog. And the stork is trying to eat the frog. He's got the frog's head in his mouth, and he's getting ready to swallow the frog. The frog has reached around, and he's choking the stork to death. And it says, "Don't ever give up." And so that's the way we approach this business of finding faith. Don't ever give up. Keep praying. But eventually it will come. Who's next?
I don't know. I keep doing, I do the next right thing, I do what I'm told. And say thank you instead of okay, showing. And, just a lot of behavior modification right now. And the God in my life continuously comes to me through other people, like with me. And I'm forever reminded that He loves me. Even if I don't have the relationship that I want to have with Him, I know He loves me, and He looks out for me. And like now, I'm a full-time student with my own apartment, and an honest job, everything in my life is fine, and that just moves me every day I wake up. I'm tired. I'm the junkie under the bridge. I'm the reason the not doing a good job, you know, and that's God completely. Because it's not looking at me. It doesn't seem like I made the decision to do what I'm doing right now. And I'm just amazed at the relationships I have day in, and I have sponsors that I love. I love my sponsors, you know. And I never had that. I never wanted to talk to anybody or let you know what I was feeling because it's going to do this anyway, you know. And, you know, I'm not so hard anymore. You know, I want to develop relationships, and I'm not so full of fear and anguish. And I'm really grateful for it. And that's gonna be God. You know, doing all this stuff in my life, and one of the people in my life, and the school, and everything in my life, it's gotta be God. Because I don't do this. I get high. You know, that's what I do. And I'm totally moved every time I walk into a meeting and listen to somebody staring, you know, regardless of what it was, how the God was in them. And it just moves me. I'm just sitting there, oh, wow, that is so awesome. That he's been here all the time. And I just feel like, whatever. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. Like tonight, like, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to come to a meeting. I would stay home, study, and sleep. You know, going to a meeting. You know, and then, I don't know, somebody came over to me and just told me, you know, man, just get up and drive, go down there. Do what you're supposed to. All right. So I get up, I get dressed, I'm sitting there. You know, and now I'm like really grateful that I came. And it's just like, you know, this, you know, wow. You know, I'm just thankful that you share.
Okay, thanks very much. Listen, I want to thank all of you for a wonderful meeting. Lots of great sharing. Let's pay the rent, and then we will close the meeting. You got it, Marilyn? All right, let's close the meeting now.
Come on now. You did not.
Let this circle represent the unity of our fellowship. A moment of silence for those who are still suffering. And we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. Please remember, we don't say anything after we say Amen. Thank you. Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thanks all for being here. See you next week.